I gave you peace.
Your peace. Your peace is a joke.
Transmedia. It's when you disperse integral elements of a fiction across multiple media channels to create a unified and hopefully well-coordinated experience. As expert Asquith pointed out, transmedia content doesn't just promote a product, it becomes a part of the product. Now, he was mainly talking about advertisements, but what happens when the media that was supposed to be an accessory eclipses the main piece and creates something truly beautiful? Injustice as a franchise is just f***ing cool. The game is fun and the comics are mostly A-star. I say mostly because there's basically two halves. Years 1, 2 and the first half of 3 is written by Tom Taylor and they're amazing, I can't believe it. They're a nightmare filled with shocking deaths, intense escalations, and more importantly, it's heartbreaking because underneath the bleak brutality is a deep understanding of his characters and a love for them despite their dark ends. When we're first introduced to Superman, he wakes up to the sound of 2 heartbeats from Lois. He tells Batman he's gonna be a godfather. The dialogue is extremely snappy and naturalistic, while the art itself is filled with gentle details like Batman smiling. But then Joker kidnaps Lois, surgically implants a sensor inside her, gasses Superman with fear toxin so he accidentally kills her, leading to Metropolis being nuked. Enraged, Superman kills the Joker. All this happens over the course of 4 issues, with no actual fight scenes, just simply reactions. Characters reacting to the good news, reacting with haste, and then finally reacting to the worst thing imaginable. Tom Taylor's writing puts an emphasis on perspective above all, and that's the theme that drives the story. As the old ways dies with Lois. The most tragic part of this is that Superman doesn't just suddenly flip the switch and become an exaggerated villain.
I'm great.
His arguments and conclusions are perfectly sound and empathetic for the way he's trying to make sense of his trauma. With no home, no family to invest in, no imaginable future anymore for himself, he reinvents his own life by trying to fix the world himself. Finally, Superman imposes a worldwide ceasefire, and there's real satisfaction in seeing him save innocent people from bombings, toppling dictators, and controlling corrupt politicians. However, underneath this path is also a road that demands compromises, and each step he takes, his arrogance grows, like taking an entire city hostage to quell Arthur's attempt to show power. There's a pretty genius line in part 6, which is, "No, you can't just stop war. The reason for fighting is still there. The religion, the land disputes, the ancient feuds. The peace needs to be enforced, and someone needs to enforce it." That enforcement then comes in the form of Wonder Woman and those uncritically loyal to Superman. And the tragedy is, why wouldn't you be loyal to Superman? He's the best man you know. His willingness to kill literally saves the world at one point from being massacred when he lets go and wipes out all of Kalibak's parademons, leading to the skies raining with blood. While Batman in all of this is like a Lovecraftian being, a force of pure unknowns. He literally has a protocol that scrambles Superman's attempt to reveal his true identity. Batman is a dude of such sheer psychopathic principle that he can't let Superman's actions go, while Clark resents Bruce for his inaction with the Joker all of these years, and also his unwillingness to be there for him as a friend, to see things his way. Year 1 ends with Superman deciding Batman needs to die, not for a moral reason, but for Superman to be able to live with himself, even if it means the Kent and Jor-El is disappointed. In Year 2, Sinestro manipulates Superman's new narcissism as the Guardians prepare to step in, and the comics evolve from being a character drama to more of a full-on war story about factions, where individuals are valued and defined by their talents in the war, but also gives a small but much needed sense of childlike joy back into it with the cameos. Like, damn, Batman's back is broken by Superman, so he takes refuge with Dr. Fate, while Gordon and the Birds of Prey start a resistance. But during all these characters, it never ever loses the importance of reactions, all exemplified by the final Green Lantern regime war, where people rise up but are then squashed. Everyone is squashed, and the sense of spectacle doesn't come from seeing people punching each other in outer space, but from moments like Gordon dying of cancer as he looks at the Earth, after he was able to keep Barbara's identity safe from Cyborg, Hal killing Guy Gardner. Everything ends in a horrible defeat as bodies fall from the sky and Mogo dies. And yeah, reading this on Christmas morning was quite a bummer. Year 3 is after the war. Brute force has failed, so it's more about tricks. Magic tricks to be more specific, in the darkness. But Tom Taylor also leaves, and he closes himself with an absolutely beautiful final chapter where Batman gives Superman a dream of what should have happened. Lois lived, Batman killed the Joker, and Superman's daughter would go on to change the world as he would, but with peace and compassionate, patient leadership. The rest of these comics from year 3.5 to 5 is by Brian Buccellato, and they're kind of mid, because everything is just a bit off. The dialogue is less gentle, like Batman will literally scream, "I still have my humanity!" There's convoluted exposition, and fight scenes are less about reactions, but poses and flashy spectacle, to the point that year 3 ends with a bunch of people fighting in a park, and reality is about to be destroyed by magic. I don't know what's going on. Year 4 gets better, because it slows down, and the conflict becomes more political. Zeus forces Superman to step down so he'll be relevant again, but before the comic can show you something interesting, like how the common civilian's life has changed due to Zeus being in charge, Superman gets Poseidon to start more fighting. These last non-Tom Taylor Injustice comics are a lot like the last seasons of Game of Thrones, where the writing is less dense and intricate, but it's somewhat redeemable through sheer spectacle. But what's missing are the themes and care with creating a feeling of miasma, a feeling of sadness, a feeling of precious joy. Like there's an entire issue Tom Taylor did that was dedicated to a kid Superman once tried to help after he fell off his bike. In the story, Superman could even inspire criminals to put their guns down and look off to be better people. However, in the present, that kid is now disheartened. Superman is dark, gritty, an angry man defined not by his empathy but by his threats. What we get now is an entire issue of Wonder Woman breaking Superman's arm. Year 5, either as a deliberate tonal means to connect the game or a lack of imagination, has a goofier vibe. Bane tries to get on the good graces of the regime, challenges Batman publicly for the life of Catwoman, leading to a massive scuffle in front of Wayne Manor with a massive crowd. We've gone from single mistakes could mean life or death to basically wrestling now. It's a complete tonal whiplash, and on one hand this blows and takes away the oppressive miasma Tom Taylor carefully created, but on the other hand, admittedly, playing the game immediately afterwards, it did actually flow kind of well when it comes to this wrestling mentality, because the game is fucking nuts. Plus, the regime has technically won. They've been in power long enough that they are now the status quo. Superman further falls as he starts using supervillains, pissing off the League, but he's too goddamn arrogant to take their opinion in now, because he's so comfortable with compromises. And what matters more now is his pride. However, all this feels kind of meandering because there's no overarching conflict. Bizarro becomes friends with Trickster. They then both die. Hawkman goes nuts and then dies. The rogues commit guerrilla tactics ordered by Batman, but that doesn't go anywhere. I think year 5 really should have been about Batman, with no one left on his side, deciding to outthink the regime by developing the technology to search ways and get help from other universes, as opposed to him being wishy-washy for pretty much almost the entire year. Anyways, at the tail end of year 5, at the cost of Batwoman's life, there's help. Starting the game up immediately after the comics is actually an unbelievably smooth experience. Scenes overlap correctly. Seeing characters with the same costume actually gave me goosebumps. There's such a good sense of overarching pacing between them. Like, we ended with Deathstroke getting captured while doing a heist for Batman. In chapter 2 of the game, we rescue him and fight Raven, who at the very end of year 5 left to fully join Superman. The superpowered pill, which was just used as an excuse in the game so everyone can have the same health health bar is given genuine dramatic weight, because I know Lex made it believing in Superman's mission, but also his doubt, because he wanted people to have the power too, and that Captain Atom and Ollie died to ensure it would reach Batman. It didn't feel like an excuse anymore, it felt like a genuine earned part of the story. There are some weird, mild continuity errors, like Superman was pretty pissed off at the end of the comic, and now he's still a bit reluctant, and also the general fatalistic vibe is gone. Now it's like a playground, where Joker can just beat up Batman, and then Hal and Hawkgirl will just casually find him. The game is basically just a series of climaxes, where we just fix stuff one by one. Real Wonder Woman beats up evil Wonder Sim to restore the Amazons to their original William Moulton Marston roots. We play as Lex as he risks his life to stop Superman using Batman's super weapon, which is a really satisfying climax and chapter after seeing him for years filled with doubt and being a secret agent. Playing Flash's turn after reading so many issues of him being wishy-washy. There is admittedly a very cartoonish simplicity to the game's story on its own, but the background provided from the games injects such a high amount of complexity to everything that it becomes more. Because every opportunity acted upon here came from years of death and sacrifice. The comics didn't just provide obligatory exposition, it provided artful materials for your imagination so you can fold it into this game and create something more in your mind. As in Justice, Batman accepts defeat. He has to believe again. Another Superman is called upon, the true Superman, who shows up and fixes everything. The game on its own is about faith. Cyborg's faith in Lex, Lex's faith in Harley, Flash's faith in doing the right thing, Diana's faith in the Amazons, and Batman's faith in Superman. The comics was about perspective. As Superman made more and more compromises, eventually it became less about his love for humanity, but protecting his own egos, so his own choices and compromises can be continued to be seen necessary. Compromises is what changes perspective, and together they tell a story about how having faith is what matters when you've lost sight of who you are. It's fucking amazing. But what about Injustice 2? So that was the Injustice video. Hopefully I got it done before the New Year's. Happy New Year's.
I'm on it.